So before we start, can you tell us what makes you pursue your degree at Princeton?
Well, this goes back a long time ago. When I went to university in India, I would say that academically I was not brilliant or anything like that. And then I served for some time in my government and then started my work in the UN. And it's at the United Nations I realized that I felt a subconscious disquiet, a sense that I didn't have the knowledge that I needed in order to pursue a career. And that's when I decided I would pause my career in the UN and I went back to school. And I was very lucky. I applied to many schools and Princeton accepted me. And I have to say that it's been probably one of the most transformational experiences in my life. That master's program that I did really gave me the intellectual acumen, the academic rigor, the scholarship, at the same time the networks in which to gradually advance my career. So what it essentially did was there were many doors that started to open up on which I didn't necessarily have to knock. I could actually walk through, but it was up to me whether to walk through or not. Princeton gave me that confidence and I remain deeply grateful to the opportunity this university gave me, to someone from a way back village in India, to be able to get into Princeton.
Yeah, that's really impressive journey, I think. And so as the UN resident coordinator in China, what do you see as the most significant, the contribution Chinese international students can make to global sustainable development upon returning to China or they choose to work internationally?
I have many Chinese classmates when I was at Princeton, and I was recently at Stanford, and I saw the number of Chinese students and professors, tenured professors and all that there. They are a brilliant group of people, and I think they have great capacity to contribute to converging cultural convergences, educational convergences. Because today we are seeing a world which is fraught with difficulties, a world where the world is splitting apart with challenges of conflicts and health pandemics and climate crises. The world is getting, the geopolitical environment is making the world extremely insecure. We have over 80 ongoing conflicts in the world. Today what we need is more global understanding. Today we need much more global solidarity, perhaps even a little more compassion in this world. I believe Chinese students can be a great contributor to this, given the deep history and legacy and a culture of over 5,000-year-old civilization that they come from. It's in their DNA to be promoters of this goodwill. And I think this falls very well into the larger cross-cultural and cross-civilization initiatives that China has undertaken. I believe they will be a great fit to this, as well at the same time working across the world, forging new partnerships, forging new alliances, but forging new understanding that we have one cause. That is the cause of human development and the cause of our humanity. It's a great opportunity for them to look at the United Nations, to look at the multilateral system, promote the sustainable development goals, and it doesn't take governments or institutions to do it. Individuals can, initiatives that they can take in order to advance the sustainable development goals.
Indeed. And in your experience working across multiple countries with the United Nations, so how do you view China's evolving role in addressing global challenges such as climate change and sustainable development?
If I have to look at the Chinese story, it's a remarkable story. Back in 1979, China's per capita GDP was $180. 90% of the population was extremely poor. But in a matter of 4+ decades, it has lifted over 800 million people out of poverty. It has improved its per capita GDP to about $12,500. It has improved human capital. It has improved infrastructure. It has improved business. It has posted a budget surplus year on year. And therefore, it took the Chinese population from that point in 1979, since the time of China's opening up, to an entirely new terrain. And this dramatic, should I say, movement up, this dramatic progress is attributable to what I would say the 3 Ps. P number 1 is political will. Without political will, this progress would not be possible. Second, without the right public policies, again, this would not be possible. But third is important partnerships that were forged. So the 3 Ps. Now, in the climate agenda, China today has surpassed the world in renewable energy, just combining many parts of the world they can't reach where China has. To look at the city of Beijing, one of the most polluted places in the world today. I'm a runner, every month I run a half marathon. Look at the air quality of this city. So that means if a city of this size and scale can do it, any other city can do it. And that air quality is one of the number 1 causes for Alzheimer's. It has been recognized by the World Health Organization as a major cause for chronic diseases. So these are important initiatives. The 2030, 2060 agenda that President Xi announced in 2021 of carbon peaking and carbon neutrality are extremely important. And the whole climate agenda, as we have seen, if we don't deal with it, if we don't have stewardship, if we don't have agency on this, what will happen is we are seeing increasing levels of food insecurity, increasing levels of impact on public health. So climate change, or should I say the triple planetary crisis which we are confronted with, which are climate change, biodiversity loss and air pollution, we have to confront it head on. I believe China has very important lessons to share with the rest of the world in what it has done. I have visited a desert called Kubuchi, which is in Inner Mongolia. So the Kubuchi Desert is the poster child of the success of China's fight against not just desertification, but dealing with the adversity of climate. I mean, today, what took China over 40 years, this knowledge with big data technology and innovation, we can leapfrog it in many of countries in the world still struggling with desertification. And not just that, fighting desertification also has a better ecological impact, also generating new jobs. So I think the green transition is where a great focus can be. And regardless of countries in or out of the Paris climate agreement, China's leadership is going to be absolutely critical, because this can be a model for many of the global South countries to embrace.
Yeah. And what specific skills or perspectives do you think Chinese youth educated abroad should cultivate to effectively bridge international cooperation while also contributing China's development?
Number 1 is cultivate knowledge, have deep knowledge. Cultivate the knowledge of history, understand nation states across the world, cultivate the knowledge of cultures, understand the cultural and the nuances of culture. Cultivate friendships, nurture friendships, invest in friendships, because those are students that you've studied with at university and all that. Many of them will move on to leadership positions in many parts of the world. Those are important networks which allow better communication to happen. But above all, cultivate a spirit of public service, the desire to serve the public. You could be the CEO of a company, it doesn't matter. You could be the CEO of a private sector organization, you could be the CEO of a public sector organization, you could be a doctor, engineer, whatever, but you can still advance human development. And that comes from that spirit of public service, that spirit of volunteerism, that spirit and desire that, look, we are one human species. We may be divided in terms of our religion or in terms of our cultures or in terms of our faith or our beliefs or our politics. But ultimately, we have the same blood group. We have the same organs in our body. Nothing changes. This is where our shared humanity, this is what it's all about. It's about solidarity. It's about compassion. I believe the Chinese students, with the level of education and accomplishments that they've achieved now, they are in a great position to be able to advance this cause. Really look at becoming a bridge to the rest of the world.
Indeed. And could you share your insights on how universities and academic institutions can better prepare students to address the complex global challenges outlined in the UN Sustainable Development Goals?
I must first of all commend many of the universities in China, whether it's Tsinghua, Peking, Renmin University, Fudan University, China Foreign Language University. I mean, I've just seen so many universities in China. They have achieved a level of academic brilliance, scholarship, and an environment which is perhaps comparable to the best in the world. And that is why China is able to generate so many engineers and scientists and technology people. You know, the whole area of STEM, of science, technology, engineering, mathematics, is profoundly catapulted, and that is why, you know, if we are looking at the entire ecosystem of the future, artificial intelligence, semiconductors, quantum computing, fintech, biotech, I mean, China is at a whole new place. Who would have thought of this even being possible 40 years ago? So I believe universities should be the incubators of this talent. Universities must propel this talent, and with that spirit of public service that I spoke to. At my university at Princeton, the whole spirit of public service, where at the Princeton School of International Public and International Affairs, actually they advance this cause. They say to the students, look, when you step out of the doors of this university, advance humanity, advance human development, and this can come from a spirit of public service. And I believe that that is also very much ingrained in Chinese culture. It's ingrained in different facets of Chinese life. I believe this needs to be given more momentum to. It's not just about in China, but it's about outside of China. It's about holding out that hand of friendship. It is about overcoming the obstacles that the human race is facing with the multiple complex challenges that I refer to, from health to climate change, to conflicts, to rising inequalities, rising hunger. You know that about 890 million people go to bed hungry every night. Yeah. I mean, and yet 1 billion meals are wasted. What can we do to better serve humanity? I think ultimately our journey from the time we are born to the time we pass is one. In that period, there's a lot that we could do to progress our own lives, the lives of our communities, and at the same time, lives of people all across the world.
Indeed. And from the UN's perspective, so what unique opportunities exist for returning Chinese students to participate in multilateral cooperation frameworks between China and international organizations?
You know, I feel very privileged to be the United Nations resident coordinator to China, a unique and I represent the UN Secretary General here. I've had the privilege of presenting my papers of credentials to President Xi Jinping back in 2021. China is a country that really has invested a lot in the multilateral space. In fact, I say this having served for 29 years in the United Nations. I've been to different parts of the world. I've worked in complex emergencies. I've worked in war zones and where there are humanitarian crises. China has truly proved, and it has also shown how it values the United Nations. You know, we started our office here in 1979 when China's per capita GDP was $180. The UN was a net aid provider of finance, of ideas in order to help China lift itself out of poverty. The big investments that China made in 3 critical areas of human capital development, in infrastructure, in business, allowed China that velocity of growth, and at the same time the UN was part of that journey. I believe today, I have interacted with many senior government officials, whether it's at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs or Ministry of Commerce or the NDRC. All of them have a great appetite of sending more and more of their younger staff to join the United Nations. In fact, in my office at the UN in China, we actually have a course which is equipping and training and making Chinese government officials understand what multilateralism was all about, what the United Nations is all about, because we need new talent in order to take the United Nations forward. As you know, the Secretary General has launched some of the boldest reforms of the United Nations system to make us fit for purpose. In order to be fit for purpose, who makes it fit for purpose? Good human capital. I believe there is a huge talent pool here in China that can be great contributors to advancing the spirit of multilateralism, not just in the United Nations, but in the World Bank, IMF, international organizations. I believe today we have to engender the spirit of global solidarity, and that only comes through the multilateral spirit.
Indeed. And based on your extensive international experience, so what advice would you give to Chinese students studying abroad who are currently considering whether to come back to China to serve the public or to seek opportunity internationally?
I would say, number one, treasure the knowledge you have achieved. Number two, be a beacon of hope to the many that have not had that opportunity. Number three, advance the spirit of public service. Number 4, volunteer your time and your energy and your knowledge to help others. Number 5, believe and invest in the Sustainable Development Goals, which is the only North Star in which the entire 193 governments came together to agree that we needed the Sustainable Development Goals. Their knowledge, their innovation, their enterprise is going to be key drivers to the success of this.
Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
This is CGTN Radio. Hear the difference.